You wish you could travel, but believe that it is too expensive and that you need a ton of money. Well, today I'm gonna show you how we do it. Today, I'm gonna show you specifically how you can travel on $20 a day. We were expats living abroad and we are now a full-time travel family, and we have used this exact method for our family to allow us to create a lifestyle of freedom and meaningful connections with our family. So jumping in first is food, because this is notoriously one of the biggest expenses that you are going to pay besides accommodations, but we'll get into that later. So first is food. Buying groceries, do not eat out. That is the number one way to save your money. If you are going to be eating out, you will easily blow your budget and you will not be able to do that. So buying groceries is the utmost importance. Then you can easily buy groceries for your family, and it's gonna depend on your family size and who you're traveling with, right? So you can easily do this between $40 to the most $75 per week. So when you're breaking that down, you're hitting well below, you're averaging $5 to $10 a day for your 3 meals of food. And this is country specific, okay? And when you are self-cooking using your groceries, you can use a lot of eggs, rice, noodles, breads, and local produce, and that is drastically going to cut down on your cost. So keeping in mind that it's not just about going to the grocery store, it's about being really strategic with the groceries that you're buying. And the countries that this budget is going to work the most in for groceries is Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, some Central Europe, and some countries in the Middle East as well. Street food and your markets in some of these countries can be as low as $1 to $2. So you're eating lunch for $1 to $2. And that's great, especially if you're throwing in like a piece of fruit with it. That is also at a low cost. You can really make your dollars stretch, but it's going to take some planning in advance. There's a lot of grocery stores that are a lot more affordable. You're talking Lidl and Aldi, Billa, especially in like Austria and Bulgaria, Tesco. There's My Den Hypermarket that's in Malaysia, West Zone Fresh Supermarket in the UAE, which we have heard tons about. And there's also an app called Too Good To Go, where restaurants have their leftovers, and instead of throwing them out, you can check the app and they will leave them out and you can get free restaurant leftovers for your family. And that is also pretty big in the UK as well. So that is a great app that your family can utilize and get restaurant food for. Sometimes they charge a small fee, but it is usually never more than $4. So your whole family is getting a restaurant meal for under $4. That's an incredible steal. So remember, Too Good To Go is a great app. So going to get your groceries is a must do. New here, welcome. I am Sydney. I'm a homeschool mom of 4. We are now full-time traveling with our family. We did not have telework jobs that could be done from anywhere, and we had busy schedules just like you do. But we decided to stop waiting around for retirement or that 1 week a year vacation. If you're lucky, you get that 2 weeks. And we decided to take the leap of faith and to do it now while we are young, we're healthy, and our kids are still with us. So give this video a like if you want to start traveling with your family without breaking the bank and start creating a life of freedom to create lasting memories. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So now we can talk about different locations and regions, because this is also super important when you're trying to not break the bank, when you're trying to stay on a budget, when you're trying to do this cheaply and to travel affordably. This is also important, okay? Because not every location is this going to be able to be done in. Locations that this is probably not going to work in as well. Not saying it can't be done, but it's going to be a lot more challenging and a lot more difficult would be like the USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, Dubai, and Western Europe. Probably not the best countries to do a $20 a day budget. Not saying it's not possible, but just saying it's not the wisest decision to be on a frugal budget in those countries. So the countries that I would strongly suggest would be Southeast Asia, such as Vietnam, and you can do Laos and Thailand and Indonesia. If you are wanting to do Eastern Europe, Georgia, Albania, Romania, and Bulgaria is great. And South Asia, you're talking India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And North Africa, you can probably do this with Morocco and Egypt. And if you are really wanting to go to also Latin America, I would say Mexico and Colombia. You can also probably do this in Venezuela. So it's important to know that you do not need more money. You need a plan that works for your family. We decided to change our priorities, our income, our freedom, our lifestyle, and trust in God. And these small little changes ultimately allowed us to build a life of travel and connection with our kids. And now we can travel the world on a budget without having to be rich. And that is, I think, what so many people that we speak with really ultimately dream of and want. They just don't know how. So the next big one is our accommodations. I know the food's the biggest hit, and accommodations is also going to take up a lot of your budget. And so this is pretty important. You can travel, obviously, Airbnbs, hotels, or you can rent an apartment locally, which is going to sometimes be your most affordable option. If you are renting locally, Asia can have super cheap rentals for like $300 a month. Okay, I know China can, I know Vietnam, I know Thailand. Those are three right off the bat that I know that you can do $300 a day $300 a month in, and that this will absolutely make your budget stretch. We saw one recently when we were planning for Vietnam. It was about $350 and a $400 one and $300, but it's also going to depend on your room size. Once you bump up to like 3 bedrooms, your whole budget. So if you can squeeze people in a smaller room for a shorter temporary period, you are going to save massive savings. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that famous saying, location, 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 okay? If you want to be oceanfront, if you want to be in the main tourist areas or the main city center, then that's going to cost you, and it's going to probably make you go over budget. So consider staying outside of those areas where it's a lot more affordable and you're going to get more bang for your buck, and stay on your $20 a day budget. Now, you also need to keep in mind that if you are getting an apartment, like a local apartment, you need to check to see if they have the basic necessities, because sometimes they come bare bones. And now sometimes you can message the owner and say, hey, can we have like a starter pack? And they will give you your basics. And then if you need like an extra towel, you can buy an extra towel or an extra fork for really, really an affordable price. Or you can go out and buy it on your own, which would be like an $80 maybe upfront cost. But when you break that down, it depends if you want to add that into it. But I would not do that if you're trying to stay on your $20 a day budget. So some ways to essentially eliminate and to minimize some of your biggest lodging accommodations to stay under this $20 a day budget would be to do like a work away, like a trade away, where you work for like 3 to 4 hours a day, and then they give you free lodging and several meals a day. And that essentially eliminates your entire accommodation cost. Great freebie to combine free meals and a free place to stay. You can also do house sitting, and some mosques offer like guest houses, and this is specifically done, I know, in Istanbul, Nepal, and I believe Thailand. So there are ways that you can eliminate your housing costs. You just need to be a little creative, and that will definitely keep you on your $20 a day budget. Now, some of the free activities that you want to get done during the day. So the best free activities to do would be museums. Some countries, like in the UK, Scotland, they have free museums, and lots of countries have days designed specifically for free museum pass days. So look at those ahead of time. And then obviously free walking tours and parks and gardens and exploring the town. There's also free walking tours where you can learn a little bit of the culture and the history, and it's gonna be free as well, and you can hop in and out of that tour when it suits your family's needs. And a lot of communities offer free events, and you can look through Instagram and Facebook for those, or they're gonna be like locally posted everywhere. And a lot of cities offer free festivals where they're gonna tie in some type of culture with it. So it's a great double whammy on that one. So look for your free festivals as well. Now, water, okay? This one's a big one because water can get expensive when you're traveling, especially if you're buying water bottles. So let's dig into this a little bit further. So lots of cities have free, fresh flowing mountain water or mineral springs. So look into that because it is completely safe to drink and good for your health and your body and your skin. So get the cities that have free, safe drinking water. These are cities such as Bansko, Velengrad, Rome, Paris, Istanbul, and Bangkok, okay? There's also apps like Refill My Bottle or Tap app where they have, if you log in and you get an account on there, they are going to show you refill stations for reusable water bottles. And the whole goal is to reduce your single-use plastic water bottle. And it's going to tell you where is the nearest one. So it's a great app to use to help stop that plastic waste and get some fresh, clean, and safe drinking water. And essentially right there, that eliminates half of your cost because you always have free access to water. Now, we can talk about transportation, okay? So the best way is your feet, okay? Because it's free and it's healthy for you. Another cheap, affordable way for transportation is bicycle rentals. In some cities, you can rent them as cheap and as affordably as $2 to $3 per day. So that's a great one right there. And you can, again, use your public transportation method. This is also going to be the cheapest way, such as your bus or your metro. Most city buses are crazy affordable. Some are for a few cents and some are for just a few dollars, maybe like most $4, depending on where you're going. But obviously don't opt for the $4 one because that's going to eat a chunk of your budget. Walk, or do maybe like a halfway and walk the rest for a cheaper ticket. So another method that you can do is the night train combination because this doubles as both. You're saving on travel and accommodation and one. Some of them have very nice accommodations and you're essentially bundling both of those into one ticket. You can also use rideshare apps such as BlaBlaCar and Grab. This is going to cut down on if you're doing like Uber or Bolt, it's going to be drastically cheaper for a rideshare app. And you can also base yourself, this is what our family does. So I'm suggesting this for you. Base yourself longer in one location. So we slow travel for a minimum of 1 month in each country, upwards of 3 months because of visa purposes. But the more that you change destinations, the more expensive the costs are going to be. You're going to have fees. You're going to have extra transportation costs. You're going to have extra food costs on your travel day. So keeping this in mind that the more you change locations, the more that it's going to add on to the price tag. So try to slow travel. And maybe you can't afford to do a whole month. I get that, right? You're new to this, but we're going to show you how because you can. But just don't jump around a bunch because it's going to blow your budget the quickest. Now, I want to share our favorite travel app. Ours is Travel Spend. There's also Trail Wallet. We have not personally used it, but we've heard really good things. We use Travel Spend, and it essentially, you can link like your cards and your bank accounts, and it will tell you how much a day you have to spend, and then it's going to take those expenses and it's going to put them into different budgets, such as travel, accommodation, activities, your lodging accommodations, anything else that you might be spending during that day. So it is going to break it down and it's going to show you where you're spending the most on, how much over or under budget you are, and you can set it to like a total budget or like a per day or like versus like the whole trip budget. So that's a great way to do your expense tracking. Okay, so that's the whole thing. This is the exact method and the ways that our family uses to be able to travel on $20 a day. And honestly, it's what finally gave me my money back and allowed me to have more memories. I don't have to be a millionaire. I get to homeschool my kids. I can travel the world and still run a business that supports my life. And if you're sitting here thinking, this is what I've been missing, then you're not alone. And most people don't realize that travel is affordable and that you can travel for cheap. So go ahead, hit that like button and share it and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Until next time, bye.